Time now for our weekend cover story, and he was one of Australia's darkest minds, convicted of killing 7 young backpackers during the 90s. But since Ivan Milat's death in 2019, one sole question has remained for investigators: how many more victims lie in unmarked graves?
So now a new true crime podcast is attempting to unravel the inner workings of our most notorious serial killer. To tell us more, we're joined by former detective and host of the Missing Australia podcast, Manny Karutas, here in the studio with us. Good to see you.
Good morning, how are you?
Well, we're really well. Thanks for being with us. You've spoken with a number of those key figures involved. What is it that you've uncovered, Manny?
Yeah. Well, speaking to detectives that worked on the backpacker case, the one thing that sticks out is that they all believe that Milat's victim count is far more than the 7 backpackers he was convicted of. Paul Gordon, he was one detective. He was instrumental in finding the Paul Onions report, and Paul Onions was the backpacker who got away and identified him. He believes that Milat's numbers could be as high as 60. Oh. Another veteran detective has put the number as high as 80.
Wow, that's incredible. And I remember growing up, child of the 80s and 90s, the backpacker murders were just headlines for a couple of decades there. You've also spoken to Milat's pen pal that I hadn't heard that a pen pal existed. Amanda Howard. What did she reveal to you, Manny?
Yeah, well, Amanda Howard wrote letters to Milat over many, many years, and she described him as being coldly manipulative and calculating in a way that he would enjoy playing games, psychological games with people. When he learned that she was studying criminology, he attempted to enlist her to help him with his appeals. And then another time he wrote a letter to her and he said that he could smell her perfume on the paper. Well, Amanda's allergic to perfume. She didn't wear it, but it showed that he was trying to charm and control her. So he was very cunning and very manipulative and a narcissist.
So cunning, manipulative. What else can you tell us about Ivan Milat, the person?
Well, I just think he was extremely cruel. I mean, he didn't just murder the 7 backpackers. He brutalised them, he tortured them, he made them suffer. You know, he set out to go up and down the Hume Highway hunting victims, and he chose international tourists because the alarm bells wouldn't be raised immediately once they disappeared. Yeah, he wanted to make them suffer. I mean, one of the victims was shot in the head 10 times, another victim was decapitated. He took real pleasure in having that power over life and death. So he wasn't just a killer, I mean, he was pure evil.
Did you get a sense from talking to these detectives that he also enjoyed the coverage at the time? I mean, these murders were everywhere. Everyone in Australia was talking about it. They were fascinated by it. Did the detectives kind of give you an indication that they thought that might have also spurred him on?
Yeah, I think I got that indication more from Amanda, corresponding, and funnily, it was odd that he used to complain about the coverage. About the way they portrayed him, you know, as a cold-blooded killer and that. Because what Milat did in his own mind, he tried to mould reality to fit his narrative, you know, always trying to convince people that he was innocent. You know, I think in the end he convinced himself that he was innocent.
Well, he went to his grave believing he was innocent when he died in 2019. Do you think we'll ever be able to uncover what the extent of his, you know, his murderous ways?
No, and I think that's the most chilling aspect of his legacy, because we know that Milat worked, you know, on New South Wales, around New South Wales, travelled a lot. We also know that he travelled extensively throughout Australia. And back in the 80s and 90s, a lot of people went missing. I mean, there's 2,600 long-term missing people, 700 unidentified bodies. So we will never know the true extent of what he did.
But you were keeping those missing person stories alive by doing what you're doing. It is fascinating, and I can't wait to listen to it. Thanks so much, Manny Karutas.
Yeah, congratulations on it.
Yeah.
And you can listen to the podcast and learn a whole lot more on this story, themissingaustralia.com.au.